Now for business updates across the African continent, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Morning, Rotus.
Good morning. It's actually the globe. Well, good morning to everybody. All right, let's begin quickly. What to watch, I guess, on the global front as far as what to expect today. Let's see, about 12 p.m. U.S. mortgage applications. Mr. Andrew Bailey is going to be testifying in House of Commons. We're going to get August services data from the U.S. Bank of Canada decision, the Federal Reserve beige book, which is going to be talking about the labor market. But of course, to things here in Nigeria, we all know what everybody is watching in Nigeria. It is, of course, financial markets are going to be focused on the tribunal decision, as far as what comes out there. It should be noted, though, as far as what the markets have priced in. The three men on your screen are all market-friendly capitalists. So in terms of as far as fuel subsidies, as far as the exchange rates, all three of them have expressed the same sentiments. So the markets aren't really expecting much to change with respect to the drive to bring FDI into the country. The only issue that the markets are worried about is whether, beefed up security, whether there'll be, security issues. But as far as policy drive, if you listen to what the three of them said during the campaigns, they all support a stronger exchange rates. They're all market-driven people. So, we're not expecting much to change depending on what terms. But again, all eyes on that outcome with respect to what happens there. Oil prices. Rufai, I liked what you said. Rufai said market. Anytime anybody says market forces, I do a little dance. So Rufai said with oil at $90 a barrel, market forces mean we pay more at the pump. So hey,
and we are still subsidizing.
Well, thank you. So you can't cap prices because this is not the time to be doing it. Again, if anybody is wondering why, Saudi Arabia is saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but you shouldn't be doing it. You should let the market do it. So Saudi Arabia is cutting, they are 1 million barrel per day cut, they're extending it to December. Russia also, they're 300,000 barrel per day cut in exports, they're extending that. So prices, and it is alarming everyone. Higher oil prices do have put downward pressure on countries across the world because things just get more expensive. And the US especially, they have an election coming up next year. So this is the last thing they want to see. In Germany, a huge drop in factory orders over in Germany. There are factory orders for July plummeting 10.5% year on year, 11.7% month on month. The estimates were between 4.3 to 4.5. So massive drop. The German and these factory orders, if they continue to drop, that means that there's depressed demand for outputs there. So it's very worrying signs coming out from Germany. Although wages are up, inflation seems to be decelerating just a tad, but that will keep the ECB up. We come to Africa, of course. Mr. President Tinubu meeting up with Prakash Hanjuja of the Hanjuja Group, which is, of course, a massive conglomerate that is in oil and gas. This is what investors...
Oil and gas, media,
everything. He's a billionaire, the big fan. He had that big...
brothers.
He had that big falling out with his brother.
Yeah,
so they didn't even rest. This is what investors wanted to see. When we talk about bringing billions home, at the end of the day, you will decide whether you want to invest or not. But at least you tried. And this is what we want to see ahead of the G20 meeting. And the Minister of Investment and Trade needs to continue this. So this is the president leading from some quotes that were taken from there, very interesting quotes from this meeting. Here's what part of what the president said. He said, we are here for business. I am here to personally assure our friends and investors that there is no bottleneck I will not break. Nigeria will become one of the most conducive places on earth to make good profits and create lasting jobs. This is milk and honey to any capitalist that has their money in this country. That's what you want to hear. He continued. He said to the Mr. Prakash, with my support, there is nothing standing in your way of enjoying the unrivaled opportunities presented by our massive markets and the indigenous and hardworking nature of the Nigerian people. We are open for business. And then Mr. Prakash then replied to the president. Here's what he said, according to the spokesman. We believe in you as a leader who has done this before. You know what the challenges are. You know how to fix them. We are going to make investments into the billions of dollars under your leadership because we see you are already addressing the systemic problems. And then he then continued. This is what we want to hear. He says that, look, I'm ready now to sign an MOU and to begin execution. You tell me who to liaise with and we will get to work immediately, particularly with respect to bus and automobile manufacturing in Nigeria, amongst other areas. Innocent might not like hearing that, but let's continue. Then the president responding to him, president now turned to the Minister of Finance. He said, Ministers of Trade and Finance, the two of you will follow this up immediately, and you will draw up the terms to the satisfaction of both parties. If there are any issues at all that require my intervention, they must be brought to my attention immediately. Ha! May this continue. This is what we want to hear. What else is happening? South Africa GDP, I think. No, Heirs Insurance. The insurance sector. This is, again, part of the Tony Elumelu empire. Since we're talking of the Hendrida group, this is the Elumelu group of the empire. Heirs Insurance Group, 2022 performance, gross written premiums, 20 billion naira. This, I think, is the second or third year of operations for the company. I think it's second. 226% growth there. Underwriting profit, 2.7 billion. Claims paid. Very important to see how much they're paying out in claims. Very important so that, if you have an insurance claim, it's met. Profit before tax, 8.49 million. The Heirs Life Insurance and Group Insurance also reporting big jumps in their gross written premiums. The insurance penetration in Nigeria needs to be deepened, and we need more players in the sector like this. Tony Elumelu wants to disrupt the insurance sector. More news. Okay, South Africa economic growth released yesterday, 0.6%. I mean, South Africa is just yikes. 0.4% in Q1, there was a contraction in Q2. Real quick, if you look at the sectors that grew, it was finance, it was manufacturing, it was, I think, agriculture as well. And then you look at the sectors that contracted, construction, electricity. Yeah, so agriculture grew 4.2%, manufacturing 2.2%. Look at mining. Nigeria's mining sector is in recession. There's 1.3%. Personal services, finance, general government services. And then as far as the ones that contracted, of course, ESCOM. So you know that electricity is going to contract. So transport contracted, electricity, trade, construction. But then if you look at the size as far as the contribution to value add, look at the bottom of your screen there. It is finance. Of course, this is the most developed economy on the African continent. You can lease you have a developed mortgage sector. You can lease a car and return it. So finance, of course, the biggest crop of it, followed by personal services and so on. So that's our update for today.
Real quickly, the reason why solid mineral sector is not growing in Nigeria is because of the theft.
Indeed.
Solid mineral theft that's going away. If you are to capture all the theft, we should be growing. Secondly, I have always, you see, because in all of this brouhaha, I've seen a lot of people try to blackmail me because they don't understand nuanced arguments, but it's fine. I have always supported subsidy removal. My position has always been, and that's why I'm happy Governor Fayemi to tell the truth, all right, about the matter in 2012. My argument has always been develop alternative sources of energy. CNG gas, if it kicks, so that people can have alternatives. If Induja comes in and builds more CNG cars and buses at very good rates, good. But let's develop CNG. The presidential initiative on CNG, 250 billion, let that be up and running so I can buy my CNG just like I buy my fuel everywhere and have alternative sources so you can have a choice. That's how our economy is supposed to run. So I'm in support of that. And also, you cannot say, oh, we're pulling out subsidy without forensically auditing the NNPC, because there's been a lot of shenanigans going on that people have been complaining back and forth as regards. So that's just my position on this issue. Secondly, it's quite a very dicey one for America with all of this. You know why? Because in the 70s, when crude oil price slumped, they built a strategic national reserve of crude oil. And because of that, now, what is happening is, we have live pictures. You can see on the screen there for the electoral. People are all seated and all
eyes on the judiciary.
All eyes on the judiciary. So, but moving on as a result of that. So America recently, to be able to buffer the effect of high petrol prices, they've been releasing a strategic natural reserves, and that number has reduced. So now America is planning on buying back what they release, but prices are very high for them.
So they can't buy.
So they can't buy. So it's a big problem with them. And now prices topping $90 per barrel now is more conundrum for America, vis-a-vis the fact that you have an election coming up. Joe Biden is up against, Donald Trump. Let's see how all of this.
Well, Trump hasn't won the nomination yet, but if he doesn't go to jail,
hopefully we will. So,
all right, yeah. I know we have to go very soon, Dr.
All eyes on the judiciary.
Just a number of things
to
point out. The first is President Tinubu's trip to
India.
We were told that he was going for the G20 and that there will be a roundtable, Nigeria-India presidential roundtable, and also a business group B20 meeting in which Nigeria will participate. I raised a question earlier, and I think it needs to be reiterated as follows: that President Tinubu traveled for a September 9 to 10 event on September 4. Why? The invitation that we're told is from the president or the prime minister of India, was it dated that he should arrive on September 4? Who received him when he arrived? We've seen the presidency releasing pictures of his meeting with the Hinduja group,
yes,
which is a transnational Indian group over 109 years. Yes, you've quoted promises, rhetoric, come and invest in Nigeria, Minister of Trade being directed. Nigeria does all of that. You know, usually we don't follow up. I tell you, it's when we see the outcome that we will believe it. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is a ministry that is very busy with ceremonies. They will always organize ceremonies for the president of Nigeria. And president, one after the other, they enjoy these ceremonies because of the photo opportunities. I want that what we're going to India to do may well be at best photo ops. And the pictures are already coming out. So meeting with Hinduja group, that's not the news. I would have preferred it if President Tinubu was received at the airport by Narendra Modi himself. Okay, you give excuse. You say it's at the ASEAN conference ahead of this thing. But why go to a September 9 event on September 4? Is there a linkage between that and the September 6 delivery of judgment in the presidential election petition at the tribunal? So I just urge Nigerians to try to look at all of this and do the connections. So when President Tinubu maybe arrives and we face a burlesque on our hands, or a melodrama, or a farcical, sycophantic reception for him, in case he triumphs at the tribunal, then it will look like, you know, people are just taking us for a ride. So we put up our thinking caps and think. You were talking about what to watch this week. Another thing to watch is the Asian countries conference, the ASEAN conference, taking place in
Jakarta.
In Jakarta, Indonesia, hosted by President Widodo.
Yep.
Now, it turned out that yesterday, one of the issues that came out from that ASEAN conference was that the member countries resolved that Myanmar cannot be the next host. Myanmar will have been, in the order of the schedule, the next host in 2026. And why is it that Myanmar cannot host? Because of the civil strife in Myanmar, because military intervention is still in place in Myanmar. So that's a message to the people who are organizing coups in West and Central Africa, that if you are rejected by your community, it has implications. The coup leaders in Myanmar are saying they were not invited. Yes, of course, they were suspended from attending ASEAN meetings. So these things have their implications. But the bigger issues at the ASEAN conference, of course, is trying to reconcile India and China and Russia and the United States. Today, tomorrow, they will be meeting with some of these, you know, important persons. Sergei Lavrov from Russia, Kamala Harris from the United States, and then Li Qiang from China. So you have in that regional body, you know, issues that are also of a transnational nature. But the moral lesson of it that I wanted to point out is how the military leaders of Myanmar have been told that they cannot host, you know, the ASEAN conference in 2026 because of the political crisis that they have imposed in that country. And I hope that the boys in Niger and Gabon, you know, and in other West African countries